She dumped me because I didn't have a car. Not because I cheated. Not because I lied. Just because I didn't own 4 wheels and an engine. Melissa looked me dead in the eyes when she said it. Bruce, I just can't do this anymore. I need someone who can at least drive me to dinner without showing up on a bike like it's high school. It wasn't anger I felt. It was something colder. Like my heart just gave up mid-beat. She didn't even flinch when I didn't respond. Just grabbed her purse and walked off, 3 years together. Erased with one sentence. I didn't chase her. I didn't ask for a second chance. I just stood there on the curb, watching her heels click away from everything we built. Everything I thought we had. I went home, sat on the edge of my bed. And all I could think was, so that's it? No car means no love? But here's the thing. I didn't fall apart. I didn't spiral. I got to work. I burned through sleepless nights, picked up contracts others turned down, spent weekends at my desk while my friends were out drinking. I said no to every distraction, every party, every maybe. And then today, exactly 4 months after she walked away, I parked my brand new Rolls-Royce Ghost outside the same cafe where she ended us. Not for her, for Kimberly. Melissa's sister. Kimberly walked out with her usual calm grace, her smile lighting up when she saw me. I opened the door for her, and she stepped in like it was the most natural thing in the world. Across the street, Melissa stood frozen, coffee in hand. Confusion in her eyes. I didn't look twice, because some people don't get a second glance, and some people don't realize what they lost until they watch you hand it, everything they once wanted, to someone else. Melissa and I met during our final year of university. She was radiant from the start, head always held high, her heels always clicking a little louder than anyone else's steps. Her smile was magnetic, the kind that made everyone around her feel lucky just to be in her orbit. And when she looked at me, of all people, I felt like I'd won something I hadn't even entered for. I was quiet, focused. A design engineering major who worked part-time shifts, fixing vending machines and building freelance websites just to keep my tuition and rent covered. I didn't wear designer anything, didn't drive, didn't spend weekends at the city's rooftop lounges. My life was structured around grit. Hers seemed carved from glamour. But somehow she liked me. Maybe it was the way I listened. Maybe it was because I never tried to impress her. Or maybe it was because back then she was still figuring herself out too. We started dating quietly. She liked that I was different, said I made her feel grounded, that I didn't try to outshine anyone. I just showed up, dependable and steady. I took her on late-night walks through campus, brought her hot chocolate after her shifts, walked her home in the rain while I got soaked. She used to laugh and say, "Bruce, you're like a novel. Simple on the outside, but I keep flipping the pages." Those were the golden days. After graduation, we both stayed in the city. I was building up my freelance portfolio and she landed a job as a PR assistant for a luxury fashion brand. Our worlds grew more distant. I was still trying to break through. She, on the other hand, was now brushing shoulders with influencers and industry executives. We still shared a 1-bedroom apartment. But slowly, her side of the closet started filling up with designer heels. Mine still had my steel-toed work boots. At first, I thought it was just growing pains, that we were adjusting, that she was just discovering new things. But it wasn't. Long before the comments began, "You should really think about learning to drive, Bruce. This would be easier if you had a car, you know. My colleagues keep asking why my boyfriend shows up on a bike." I always responded with patience, calm, explaining that I was saving up, that I was investing in my business, that cars could wait, but our future couldn't. Melissa would nod, say nothing, smile faintly. But her eyes, they were somewhere else. Then came the silence, the missed calls, the texts she didn't reply to, nights she'd come home late, smell like perfume that wasn't hers. She was becoming someone I didn't recognize, always scrolling, always comparing, always chasing, something shinier. Still, I tried. One evening, she stood in front of me in our living room, dressed head to toe in a blazer set I knew cost more than what I earned in a month. She didn't sit down, didn't touch my hand. just said, "Bruce, I can't do this anymore. You're sweet, but I need more. I need someone who matches me." "What does that mean?" I asked quietly. "It means you're still showing up on a bicycle, and I'm being driven around in Audis by colleagues. I can't keep pretending this is enough." And just like that, she ended us. I stood there, stunned. Not because I didn't see it coming, but because I thought love meant waiting for each other to grow. Apparently, for her, love meant being seen with someone who made her look richer. That night, I didn't argue, didn't beg. I helped her pack the last of her things, gave her a ride to her sister's place. Yes, her sister, Kimberly. Kimberly was different, softer, quieter. She had always looked at me like I mattered, even when Melissa barely glanced up from her phone. When we arrived at Kimberly's door, she gave me a sad smile. "You don't deserve this, Bruce," she said softly. "I'm sorry." I just nodded. My throat was too tight to speak. After Melissa left, my world shrank. Days blurred together, work, sleep, silence. But pain, when channeled right, is fuel, and I used it. Every moment she looked down on me, every time she rolled her eyes at my beat-up sneakers, every time she introduced me as just Bruce while other guys in her circle showed off keys and Rolexes, I promised myself one thing: I wouldn't cry over a woman who measured love in horsepower. I would rise, not for her, for me, and someday, she would see the man she left behind and realize he'd never been behind her at all. She just wasn't facing the right direction. It started with a message Melissa never meant me to see. I was at her place. Yes, even after the breakup, we were still in that awkward stage where things weren't fully separated. Some of her stuff was at my apartment, some of mine at hers. She had forgotten her work pass in my bag, and I stopped by to drop it off on my way to a client meeting. Wasn't home. The door was unlocked. I stepped in, dropped the pass on the table, and turned to leave when her phone vibrated. Just once, a name popped up. "Dean, he's clueless, LOL, he really showed up on that bike again." I froze. Not because of the message, no. That was expected. Melissa had always kept up appearances, and I'd already been suspecting there was more between her and Dean than she let on. What made me freeze was the realization that this had been going on even while we were together. That her laughter, her growing coldness, her constant comparisons, none of it was accidental. It was all practice, all rehearsed behind my back with people like Dean, and I had been the punchline. I left her apartment without a word, took the long way back, riding through streets I didn't usually take. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just let the wind sting my eyes and replayed her voice in my head. "Bruce, you're a great guy, just not enough." The betrayal wasn't that she'd left, it was that she'd laughed. That night, I deleted her number, blocked her from everything. Kimberly messaged me asking if I was okay. I didn't reply. I didn't want pity, not even from her. But Kimberly, she never stopped checking in. Once a week, a message. Simple. "Hope you're eating. Saw your new post. That project looked cool." Don't let her change how you see yourself. She never mentioned her sister. Not once. Just me. And maybe that was what kept me from drowning. 2 months later, I saw Melissa again, by accident. I was walking through the downtown plaza with a client. She was walking hand in hand with Dean. She saw me before I saw her. Tried to look away, but Dean didn't. He smirked. He leaned down, whispered something in her ear. She laughed. That laugh again. It echoed in my chest like a cold bell. That night, I opened a new folder on my desktop, named it Fuel. I put every rejection in there. Every unpaid invoice, every photo of Melissa and Dean I could find, every voicemail of her saying I needed to do better. I didn't do it out of obsession. I did it to remember. I stopped freelancing for small businesses and started bidding on larger corporate contracts. I learned back-end development, took a crash course in commercial branding, slept 4 hours a night, ate protein bars, and lived off coffee. I burned everything I had left and forged something new from the ashes. 6 months later, I signed a contract that paid more than my entire last year combined. That same week, I ordered the car. Midnight Silver Rolls-Royce Ghost Custom. Seats, quiet engine. Everything she once said I'd never have. But here's where the dilemma began. It wasn't Melissa I wanted to show it to. It was Kimberly. Because sometime between her checking in and me replying again, between her sending memes and asking how my week was, between her visiting one of my client events and saying, "I'm proud of you," I'd started looking forward to her messages more than I cared to admit. She never crossed a line, never hinted at anything romantic. But there was warmth in everything she said. And after a year of being treated like a liability, that warmth meant something. So I asked her if she wanted to grab coffee. She said yes. That day, I pulled up outside her apartment in the Rolls. She stepped out in jeans and a soft gray hoodie. She didn't even notice the car at first, just smiled when she saw me. "You look tired," she said. "Working too much again?" I smiled. "Not today." As I opened the door for her, she finally looked at the car. "Wait, this is yours?" I nodded. She didn't squeal, didn't ask how much it cost. She just said, "Looks good on you." We drove off. Her hand brushing mine. Natural. Unforced. But the peace didn't last. As we parked near the cafe, Kimberly suddenly stiffened. I turned to follow her gaze, and there she was, Melissa, standing by the door, coffee in hand. Dean nowhere in sight. She stared at the car, then at me, then at Kimberly getting out of the passenger side. For a moment, she looked confused. Then her expression shifted to something I hadn't seen before. Panic. That was the moment everything twisted. Because when Kimberly smiled and said, "This place has the best almond croissants," Melissa took a step forward and said, "Bruce, can we talk?" Right there. Right in front of her sister. I didn't move. I didn't speak. But inside me, something split. Because part of me wanted to say no, and part of me, after everything, still wanted to hear what she had to say. Bruce didn't say anything. Not at first. He stood there, holding the cafe door open for Kimberly, pretending Melissa's voice hadn't shaken the ground beneath him. But it had. His grip on the doorframe tightened for a second, just enough for Kimberly to notice. She glanced. At him, uncertain, then back at her sister. Melissa looked different. Not just physically, though her makeup was heavier, her heels higher, her coat flashier, but emotionally. There was something cracked beneath the surface, like whatever armor she'd built around her pride was starting to rust. Bruce's heartbeat pounded in his ears. He had imagined this moment before, 100 times. Her seeing him again, her regretting it, her wondering how the man she left on a bike now drove the kind of car Dean probably used to brag about. But now that it was real, it didn't feel like triumph. It felt like acid in his chest, burning through every quiet memory they had, every soft thing he once felt for her. "Bruce?" Melissa said again, voice lower now, almost apologetic. Kimberly looked at him, waiting, not asking. She was giving him space to choose, and that cut him even deeper. Because in that moment, Bruce didn't know what hurt more. The fact that Melissa had the nerve to want a conversation, or the fact that a piece of him still wanted to hear what she'd say. He nodded at Kimberly gently. "I'll just be a second." Kimberly gave a tight smile. "I'll get our table." Melissa stepped to the side, out of the crowd, and Bruce followed. "I didn't know it was you," she started. "The car, the way you looked. I wasn't expecting—" Her voice trailed off. She was searching his face, the way she used to, when they were still us. When she'd lie in his lap after work and whisper dreams about apartments and vacations and brunch places they'd never afford. But Bruce's eyes were colder now. He wasn't angry. That would have been easier. He was just tired. Melissa took a deep breath. "Dean and we broke up months ago. He didn't react. He was not who I thought he was. Always busy. Always showing off. Said I was lucky just being next to him." She gave a bitter laugh. I guess I deserved that, huh? Bruce stayed silent. The air around them was thin, like the moment was balancing on a string that could snap with one wrong word. I made a mistake, she whispered. I left someone who loved me because I thought love came with leather seats and branded watches. He flinched just barely. I was wrong, she added, softer now. Bruce, I was wrong. And still, he said nothing. Because part of him, the part she had shattered, wanted to scream. Wanted to tell her about the nights he went to sleep with numb fingers from typing for hours, about the clients who paid late, about the contracts he begged for. The part of him that had starved and worked and fought, wanted her to see what it cost to become the man she was now trying to remember. But the other part, the part that had watched Kimberly wait, that had seen her never ask for more than kindness, never take what wasn't given, never force her way into spaces that didn't belong to her, that part just whispered, "Don't go back." Bruce finally spoke. "Melissa, you didn't make a mistake because you wanted more. You made a mistake because you measured worth in what I didn't have, without ever seeing what I gave." She swallowed hard. "I see it now." "But I don't care anymore," he replied quietly. It wasn't cruelty. It wasn't spite. It was finality. Her eyes welled up. "She's my sister, Bruce." "I know. You're with her?" He hesitated, then said simply, "Not yet, but she's been by my side longer than you ever truly were." Melissa stepped back. She looked like she'd been hit. Not physically, but in the gut, where truth goes when it hurts the most. Bruce walked past her without another word, back into the cafe, back to the table where Kimberly was sitting, pretending not to glance toward the window. He slid into the seat across from her. She didn't ask. He didn't explain. But she offered him half of her almond croissant, and that somehow made all the noise go quiet again. He took it. He smiled. But deep down, the ache remained, muted but present. Because betrayal doesn't fade overnight. It leaves scars in places no one sees. And even when you're healing, even when you've moved forward, there are moments, split-second flashbacks, that remind you of what it cost to finally choose peace. Week later, Bruce received an unexpected call from an unknown number. He almost didn't answer. It was late. He was working on a last-minute proposal in his apartment, Kimberly's laughter from their earlier lunch still faintly ringing in his ears, but something in his gut made him pick up. "Bruce," the voice said. Familiar. Shaky. "It's Dean." Bruce didn't respond right away. His first instinct was to hang up, but he stayed silent, waiting. I thought you should know," Dean continued. "Melissa's in trouble." That name again. Just when Bruce thought he was finally moving, Dean exhaled. "She lost her job last week. Got into it with her manager. Some kind of breakdown. She's been ignoring everyone. Her phone's off. I just found out from someone who saw her crying outside her old office. Said she looked like she hadn't slept in days." Bruce sat back in his chair. Not because he was worried, but because this felt unreal. Melissa, always polished, always untouchable, was unraveling. And Dean of all people was calling him about it? "Why are you telling me this?" Bruce asked. There was a pause. Then Dean muttered, "Because you're the only one she really cared about." Bruce wanted to laugh. Bitterly, after everything, now she cared. "She's not my responsibility anymore," he said calmly. "I get it," Dean said, voice low. "I know I screwed up. I never thought she'd fall apart like this. And honestly, I think she regrets everything." Bruce didn't sleep that night. Not because of guilt, but because that phone call brought back memories he had buried deep. The nights Melissa would fall asleep on his chest, whispering her insecurities. The mornings she'd avoid mirrors, even though everyone thought she was the most confident woman in any room. How her obsession with image always masked a fear of being unworthy, unloved. And now that mask was cracking. But Bruce also remembered the way she laughed at him with Dean. The way she looked through him like he was just space. The way she made him feel like a burden instead of a man. The next day, Kimberly noticed he was quieter. She didn't push. Instead, she handed him a paper bag with his favorite takeout and smiled. "Let me know if you want to talk," she said gently. That night, Bruce drove past Melissa's old apartment. The lights were off. He didn't stop. He didn't knock. But the ache in his chest returned. Not because he wanted her back, but because he finally understood the full depth of what she had lost and how far he had come. And still, something inside him whispered, "This isn't over yet." 3 days passed before Melissa called him again. Bruce stared at the phone. This time her name wasn't hidden behind an unknown number. It flashed clearly across the screen. Melissa, mobile. He let it ring until the last second before answering. "Bruce?" Her voice cracked like a dry leaf in the wind. "Can I see you?" He was silent. I need to talk. Just for a few minutes. Please." He heard the pleading in her tone, not the manipulative kind he used to fear, but something raw, real. "I'm at the park. The old one. By the willow tree." Bruce didn't say yes. He just hung up. But 2 hours later, his car pulled up by the curb, and he saw her sitting on the bench where they used to meet during college breaks, when life was simpler, when Melissa still smiled without calculating who was watching. She stood up as he approached, but he stayed still. She took that as permission and sat back down. Bruce stayed standing. "You look tired," she said, eyes puffy, lips chapped, no trace of lipstick or concealer. "I've been meaning to tell you." "I'm sorry." He said nothing. Melissa inhaled shakily. "You know, when I left you, I thought I was stepping into a better version of life. One with luxury, stability, recognition. But instead, I stepped into something shallow. Cold." Bruce crossed his arms. "That's what you left me for." "I know," she whispered. "Dean wasn't love. He was noise, glitter. He made me feel wanted, but only when others were watching. He was never you." "And yet," Bruce said, voice sharp, "you laughed with him. At me." She closed her eyes. "I hated myself after that. You didn't deserve it, but I was angry. Angry at myself for choosing wrong the first time. Angry that you didn't chase me." Bruce's eyes narrowed. "You left me because I didn't have a car." "No," she said quickly. "I left you because I didn't know how to appreciate love that didn't come with packaging. You were building something slow, and I was too impatient. I thought the world was waiting for me. Turns out, the world just wanted someone shinier than me." Silence fell. Birds chirped softly in the background, but Bruce didn't feel peace. Melissa looked at him again, truly looked this time. "You're with Kimberly." It wasn't a question, just a statement. "Not officially," he replied. "But I want to be." A flicker of pain crossed her face. "You used to talk to me like that." Bruce's voice was low now. "I used to believe in us. I would have done anything for you. I would have carried you through storms barefoot if you just asked. But you didn't want the man. I wasn't dressed in enough gold for you. You wanted someone who looked better standing beside you. And when you left, I thought I was the problem." "I was the problem," she said. He looked away, eyes hardening. "Melissa, I don't hate you. I don't even wish you pain, but I can't forget what it felt like. To be standing at the bottom of the hill, reaching for you while you looked down and laughed." She stood facing him, tears now streaking down her cheeks. "I lost everything, Bruce. The job, the apartment, the friends. Dean walked away the minute things got hard. My reputation, trashed. People only loved me when I was shining. You were the only one who loved me when I wasn't." Bruce's jaw clenched. "And now that you're broken, you remember me?" "No," she said softly. "Now that I'm human again, I understand you." The words cut deeper than he expected. "I never wanted your car," she continued. "I just didn't want to feel left behind. I wanted a shortcut to success and confused that with love. He stepped closer. And what about Kimberly? Melissa swallowed hard. She's better than me. Always was. She saw your heart when... I only saw your shoes. Bruce didn't reply. I'm not asking for you back, Melissa said finally. I know I don't deserve that. I just wanted you to hear me. Once. To know I regret it. Not because I'm alone, but because I see it now. I see everything I missed when I had the best thing in my life standing right in front of me. Bruce closed his eyes. The pain in her voice was real, but the damage was too. He stepped back. I hope you heal, he said quietly. Then he walked away. She didn't call after him. She just stood there, shoulders trembling, tears falling without sound. Bruce didn't look back. He couldn't. Because the moment he turned the corner and saw Kimberly waiting by the street lamp, holding 2 takeaway cups and smiling like the world was still good, he knew that was love, not regret, not apology, just presence. He walked straight to her, took the coffee, and smiled back. And without saying anything, they walked side by side into the evening, the ghost of the past left behind beneath the willow tree. A month passed. Melissa didn't call again. Not once. Bruce didn't expect her to, not after the park, not after he walked away without another word. But the silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was freeing. For the first time in 2 years, he slept without rehearsing arguments in his mind. Without waiting for an apology that would never feel whole, he poured his energy into the business. The company he'd built from sleepless nights and rejected invoices was now being considered for a government contract. His calendar filled. His bank account tripled. But through it all, Kimberly stayed. Not because he asked her to. Not because she wanted anything. She just stayed. They weren't dating, not officially. There were no declarations, no rushed promises. Just consistency. Loyalty. And the way her presence always made Bruce breathe easier. One Thursday morning, Kimberly dropped by with coffee and muffins. You've been working too hard again, she scolded playfully, placing the paper bag on his desk. Even your plants are wilting in sympathy. Bruce chuckled, leaning back in his chair. They're dramatic. You're not watering them. They don't pay rent, he shrugged. She laughed, brushing a hand through his hair. Casually. The moment was simple, but grounding. Then her phone buzzed. Kimberly glanced down and her expression flickered. You might want to see this, she said, turning the screen to face him. It was a video, a recording from a private industry event. Dean, standing at a podium giving a speech. Melissa was in the frame too, seated behind him. Her posture stiff, her eyes scanning the room like she was trying to disappear. The video zoomed slightly as Dean's voice sharpened. And while I've made mistakes in the past, I've always believed in loyalty. That's why our brand doesn't tolerate disloyalty, even from former partners who thought they could leverage their connections for quick wins. Gasps rippled through the crowd in the video. Melissa looked like she'd been slapped without warning. He kept going. This industry doesn't forget. People who use love and sympathy as networking tools don't get second chances, especially when they've already thrown theirs away. Bruce blinked, the meaning settling in. Dean had thrown her under the bus, publicly, brutally. Kimberly shook. Her head. He's cutting ties completely. He used her when she was useful. Now he's done. Bruce said nothing. His lips curled slightly, not in joy, but in justice. That was the difference. Later that day, an email arrived. Subject line: Urgent, confidential opportunity. The sender? Bright Edge PR Group, one of the largest branding firms on the East Coast. Bruce clicked it open. Dear Mr. Ward, we've been following your recent growth and reputation in the design and branding space. We are currently undergoing internal restructuring and would like to invite you to consult on a new corporate reputation campaign. It involves rebranding a former executive who has suffered a significant public setback due to recent events. The executive in question is Ms. Melissa Kay, formerly of Elmont Fashion Group. If you are available, we'd like to begin discussions immediately. Sincerely, Eleanor Geller, Senior Director, Bright Edge PR. Bruce leaned back in his chair, heart pounding, but not from shock. From the surreal satisfaction of knowing life had come full circle, he could have declined, quietly, politely. But revenge, when done right, is never loud, he replied. Thank you for your message. I am available for consultation. However, please. Note, I do not work with individuals who violated personal or professional boundaries at the expense of others. Kindly inform Ms. K that her request has been reviewed and declined. Best regards, Bruce Ward. He hit send, and that was it. No confrontation, no cruel words, just a line drawn in the sand. Later that night, Kimberly brought over dinner. They didn't talk about Melissa. They didn't need to. She could feel the shift in Bruce's energy. Lighter, quieter, at peace. They sat on the balcony as night settled in, watching the city glow beneath them. I think I'm ready, Bruce said. Softly, Kimberly turned toward him. Ready for what? To stop waiting. To stop building walls because of people who tore me down. To stop pretending I don't want more. He turned to her, met her eyes. I want more. With you. She didn't smile right away. She just nodded, eyes misting. Then let's start building it. Together. No promises. No ring. No dramatic declarations. Just two people who had chosen each other not for appearances, but for presence. And as Bruce held her hand, he realized the real revenge wasn't the money. It wasn't the car. It wasn't even the rejection email that would eventually ruin Melissa's last shot at redemption. It was healing. It was choosing peace over pettiness. Love over pride. It was walking past the pain without looking back. The next morning, the headlines hit. Melissa K. blacklisted after X reveals refusal to rebrand scandal-tainted executive. And under the article, a quote from an anonymous source, when you mistake status for value, you lose both. Melissa disappeared from the public eye. No brand would touch her. No investor trusted her. Dean moved on to his next target. But Bruce? He built an empire. A clean one. A loyal one. And he did it all with Kimberly by his side. Not to show Melissa what she lost, but to finally claim what he'd always deserved, the life he was told he wasn't enough for, now lived without apology, without regret, and without her.